pivoting a little bit to fantasy, because I know that you teach workshops or have given workshops on creating magic systems. And I was wondering, what kind of a taste can you give us for free? And feel free to use the magic that in Twin Daggers as an example.
Yeah, I did. I did a workshop on that at Goodreads Comic-Con a couple years ago, and let's see. I think the most important thing to remember about magic is that it does have to make sense. I like to joke, the thing I like about writing fantasy versus contemporary, is that I can just make stuff up for somebody different. I just say it's magic. But it does have to make sense. There has to be logic to it. There has to be rules, and you have to obey them, or have a really good reason for breaking them that actually makes sense within the scope of your world. And that's not necessarily an easy task. And that's kind of something when I write primarily fantasy. All I've had published so far has been fantasy. And every magic system is a little different. And it always takes some time to go through and think about, what are the rules? What is this magic like? Is it an energy? Is it something almost sentient? What is it? How does it come to people? What is its origins? What's the sort of backstory of the magic? And thinking about that and brainstorming a lot of those things. And I kind of have these templates that I'll go through where I'll jot down notes about things. Usually in the beginning stages of plotting. I'm very much a plotter. I love to sit in my writing cave and make things terrible for my characters. So much fun.
You sit down and do a full outline, start to finish, before you get started on the actual writing? Or?
I have a brain vomit, and then I do where I'm in the idea stage, all these random things that could happen that I put in one Word doc, and then I use Blake Snyder's Save the Cat beat sheets. And I use that to plot my stories. I wish I'd found them years ago, because I think the first time I used it was for Monstrous. And had I used them on those previous 6 books, maybe some of them would have gotten published. My very first book that I mentioned earlier had this 10-page outline with all kinds of meandering tangents going off in all sorts of random fun places that did not actually move the plot forward. Obviously, that's why it did not get published. But now I have a much more streamlined plots using the beat sheets that really help me focus and figure out where all this random sort of brain vomit in the Word document should go. So that's what I use to plot. And then I use Scrivener to write. And I also find that the beat sheets is really helpful for writing a synopsis, because you've basically got the bones of it right there. You just kind of got to copy and paste into another Word document and flesh it out a little bit more. And I hate synopses. They're the worst. But having they're so bad. But having the beat sheet there is actually really helpful and does half the work for you, which is great.
Surely at this point, I mean, you're MarcyKate Connolly. If somebody says, "Can I have a synopsis?" just say no.
I've written this many novels. It does not work that way.
Nope.
Does not work that way. Because also,
you have to sell before you get to that point.
Way more than I have. That's for sure. Yeah, not yet. So magic. You have to have some kind of a system for the magic, an actual system. And one of the things that I did when I did this workshop a couple years ago, I've only done it once, but it was so much fun. I would love to do it again. I hope somebody asked me to, because I have it on my website of I can give this workshop. It was really fun. We kind of went through this whole thing together as a group with the people who are there, of building our own magic system. And I had all these templates and questions you ask and things to think about. And I don't have it in front of me, so I can't tell you exactly what all those questions are right now. But things about, like I was saying before, is it an energy? What is it like? What are the rules? Who has it? Why do they have it? Is it a spiritual type of power? Is it a random power? And are there different levels of power? And all sorts of things, to go through all this, and what are the consequences of it? What happens when you use the power? Is it limitless, or is there a price? Because there has to be a price for magic of some kind. And lots of things to think about to kind of really flesh this out. And we went through this whole thing, making this whole magic system as a group, and it was really fun. I have terrible handwriting, but I had this whiteboard and was writing all this of flipping papers and stuff. It was really fun. It was a lot of fun. So But you have to have a system for it. It has to make sense, and there's a lot of things you have to think about, especially like the price in particular is an important thing to think about. Or maybe there is no price, and if not, why not? Does that make your power limitless? And lots of fun things to think about.
So what's a common price that you would have to pay for magic?
Blood. Blood's a price. In a lot of fantasy novels, the blood price is a thing you have to do. In others, it's I'll use Monstrous as an example. So in Monstrous and Ravenous, magic is like kind of a living thing in a way. It's not quite sentient, but it's sentient enough that only people who already are magic can handle it. And there's an evil wizard in the book that nobody can kill because he's the last wizard. And if you kill a wizard, the magic will try to go into the user, the other person who killed them. Basically, whoever conquers the person with the magic, they'll want to go into that person because they think it's more powerful. But it will just consume them in flames because it'll just totally burn them up if they don't have magic already in them. So that's kind of this sort of a price of the magic is you can take on more and more and more if you already have magic. But if you don't, it will literally kill you because you cannot handle the magic. Whereas sometimes there's less obvious prices. For example, in my book Shadow Weaver, I'll show the lovely cover here. It's about a girl who can talk to her shadow, and her shadow can talk back, essentially. But she also has the magical power of shadow weaving, which means she can actually create things from the shadows. She can craft things from the shadows. And using her magic doesn't necessarily take a physical toll on her, but her magic is kind of weird and creepy, and it takes a toll in sort of the price of her family, where her family thinks she's kind of weird. She wants to play and talk to her shadow all day instead of like people, and she gets kind of ostracized. So there's different types of prices that you could have. In Twin Daggers, the price is more, it's a physically exhausting thing. Their magic actually resides in their blood, and so they have to basically hone it like a muscle. So they have to practice, and they train all the time. They train with like running and using magic and casting spells at the same time. Because if they don't, they could be caught off guard, and they could be, out of breath, and they can't sing the words of the incantations. They can't cast a spell to defend themselves. So it's much more of a physical thing and physical toll in Twin Daggers than some of my other books.
So can they be like a video game? Oh, my meter's almost depleted. Let me grab a pellet or something, whatever.
No, you wouldn't be able to really grab a pellet, but like you'd have to it's kind of like you wouldn't like run a marathon without working up to it. So the twins in the book become stronger because they've worked at honing their magic and honing their skill, their spell casting, as well as their physicality of like training and running and fighting and all these other things while using magic as well.
So if there was no price, if we just did, I don't know, a Superman character, but we took away the kryptonite, just like all the power all the time. This is a facetious question, but what would the story problem for you, the writer, arise as a result of that decision?
It would be boring, because if they have limitless power, they can do anything. They can solve any problem. So that's also part of why you need limits on magic in some way, shape, or form, is you need conflict. And if they can solve everything with a snap of their fingers, you have no conflict and you have no story.
There you go. Straightforward, to the point. Beautiful.
That was the shortest answer I've given you yet. Sorry, I'm long-winded. In case you're wondering why some of my books are long. So.
Not at all. We like long questions on this show. My audience, they live for it.
Oh, good.
They want to hear everything that you've got to share.
I'm on the right podcast.
Written so many fantasy novels. Have you decided if a genie shows up, whatever, Will Smith appears in blue and says, "I will give you one of the powers you've written about." What power would you want for yourself?
Oh, that's a good question. I think I'd probably want Asa's magic because it can impact more things and it's more versatile than some of my other magics. Like the magic in like Shadow Weaver, in that world, it's specific things like shadow weaving or light singing, or green growing, that kind of a thing is very specific. Whereas in Twin Daggers, the Magi faction, they can basically use their magic on anything in any kind of organic matter, anything that is alive. Except Asa and Xandria, not a spoiler because they tells you in the first like couple pages, they are special because they can actually use their magic on the machines as well. So they can use their magic on anything. So it almost appears like their magic could be limitless, but it's not. There are ramifications and restrictions on that as well too, but that you find out later. No spoilers.
Yeah, but if you were going to give it to yourself, you're not worried about the conflict.
Totally limitless.
No restrictions.
Right. I'm happy to be boring and have tons of magic. That would be great. That would be fantastic.
People come around like, your story is kind of tedious to me. That's your problem. I'm great.
Like, I'm fine with that. Like, my toddler used to go to sleep. Boom, you're asleep. You nap for 3 hours because I have cast that napping spell on you so I can write. That'd be great.
Oh, I just got a great idea. Another hour.
Yep. Keep sleeping. Sleep is good for you. It's fine.
Forget magic. If I could just get my child to have a snooze button, oh my god.
Oh my god. That would be amazing. I love him to pieces, but oh my god, that would be amazing.